Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne's Sharp World, where today we are going to be taking a look at the Kizer Contrail. Before I go any farther, I want to thank you all for tuning in today. If you like what you see, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and stay up to date with the content I will be providing you guys, which will be on a pretty regular basis. But the more subscribers, the merrier. It really helps support the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Now let's go over a couple quick specs on these knives, or more than a couple. Let's run down the list. We have an overall length of 5.25 inches, blade length at 2.125 inches, cutting edge right at 2 inches, a blade width of 1.25 inches, blade thickness coming in at 0.11 inches, a nice, very attractive little stubby sheep's foot blade with a flat satin grind, handle length at 3.125 inches, handle width at 1.25 inches, handle thickness coming in right at 0.44 inches, G10 handle material, 3.08 ounces, right hand only, tip-up carry, thumb stud deployment, all that for a pretty reasonable $59. Now let's do some size comparisons to this little chub. Let's see here. Let's start off with a couple in its size range. We have the Spyderco Dragonfly, as well as the very popular CRKT Squid. As you can see, they both have a little on the overall length, but very similar blade length, or cutting edges, with the exception of Squid. Squid's a little longer there in overall cutting edge, but some good size comparisons to give you an idea. And then we have a couple more here that we'll run through. Let's do a feldspar sandwich. We have the small CJRB feldspar, as well as such good action, and I absolutely whiffed it. There it is. The CJRB large feldspar. As you can see, a pretty noticeable difference there as well. And one last little comparison with a couple of my favorite Civivis, the Civivi McKenna, as well as the, of course, ever so popular Civivi Elementum. And there you have it. I think you have a pretty good idea of the small package we're talking about here with this little Contrail. And let's get talking on the blade. I just really like the overall design of this knife in general, but I really like the way the handle flows with the blade itself. It's kind of a nice, just continuous, rounded lines, nothing super aggressive, but a very versatile, functional sheep's foot that would make for a great everyday carry. The maker's mark on the blade. So I really like, first of all, I like Justin Lundquist's designs in general. I think he's a fantastic designer, and I really love his logo, but I do not like it whenever a company at all puts branding on the actual grind of the knife, especially this far down and just kind of front and center there. Like I said, it's a great logo, and I actually kind of see why this was put there, just because you don't have a lot of real estate on the flats of this knife. A lot of other bigger blades, they'll have a little more wider flats where you can put that stuff. This one, you are limited to your space, so I guess it doesn't drive me crazy, but I'd rather it not be there. I'd rather it be smaller, and maybe up here or right next to Contrail would be just perfect, like right here. But I get it. That is also, it's a lot smaller space. Maybe harder to do. I don't know the exact reasons why they chose to put it there. Doesn't look bad, but it's just kind of front and center. Not something I'm a big fan of on my blade. As well as this Kizer logo. I really wish that was up right around here or there. It's pretty evident this is a Kizer. You know what you're ordering when you buy it. I just don't really like seeing the big branding right there on the grind. But other than that, no, just a very nice blade. I don't really have any problems with the blade. I like the jimping up here. I like the way it fits in your hand. And this thing right here, we're going to talk about this here in a bit, because I have kind of an idea with this knife. But not much to say about the blade. Just I like the little swedge up there. I like it overall in general. Very nice little sheep's foot blade. A relatively unique looking sheep's foot. So I appreciate that. Handle and ergos. For a small little chunker like this, it actually feels really good in hand. It's a full 3-finger grip. Your thumb, like I said, fits very well in the jimping. No jimping down here, but you don't need it. It just kind of sits, the little arc there, the very slight curve within the inside of the handle, fits very well in your 3 fingers, and it feels pretty good. No complaints there at all. This would actually be, for the reason of ergonomics, it would be a very good EDC for me, small EDC. I do like this a lot. The clip is pretty nice. I wish for a knife this small, I wish it would have been a deep carry clip, but it's kind of a, pretty standard clip. You're going to have I wouldn't say a lot, but, probably more than I would like to have of such a small knife sticking out of my pocket. If it was a bigger knife, I think it's a little easier to be okay with a part of the knife sticking out of your pocket. But since it's so small, it's like, darn, I've got like a fifth of the knife sticking out of my pocket. I really wish it was deep carry, but not the end of the world. Not an ugly clip, just wish it was deep carry. Really like the lines on the scales. A lot of the times I don't like the milling on G10 scales. I think it can be kind of cheesy and just kind of an overkill, an unneeded accent. But this one I do like. This one, it's attractive. Not too much. Simple lines. Whenever I see milling on something, I like more simplistic designs. Just, simple, easy lines, easy flowing lines. And it's going in kind of like, it's almost like following your fingers a little. The way your fingers wrap around it. So that's pretty nice. Nice little touch. And I also really like the accents, the bluish gray accents in the backspacer and the pivot collar. Looks really good. I don't really, outside of maybe like brass always looks cool with black. But other than that, no, I think this looks really good. It's a nice little package altogether. Then we come into the problem of this knife, and to me, it's a pretty big detriment to the knife because, like I've said, I really do love this design. I think Justin nailed this design. Very little attractive piece, but the action on this guy for me just it's not as good as it should be. It flips out with your thumb relatively easy, but you can't. The detent is so weak. You really have to flip it with your thumb, and it comes out. You can't really. The detent's so weak. If I go to push it out, it just kind of it dies, and it dies pretty quick. You can probably with wrist. Ooh, it broke really early there. Yeah, so with wrist, you can slowly get it out, but it's definitely not snappy. See, even there, it didn't fully go out on me. It takes a real dedicated, snappy flip to get it out. And, then it comes out. It's not, I don't know, I guess maybe, I think I'm getting spoiled by the quality of detents and action on knives in the, $40 to $65, $70 range. If you really flip it out there with your thumb, it comes right out. You can middle finger flick it pretty well. It's not too bad. But this knife has Teflon washers, which I just don't get. I don't get it. I think this knife would be an absolute fantastic knife if it had just a stronger detent and bearings. It'd be so much easier to just pop that blade out. Like what I just did with a stronger detent and bearings, this blade would have whipped out. But instead, I get this. Again, you just push it and it doesn't do anything. It just stops. So it takes more of a real concentrated flick to get it out. And when it's such a small knife, that's, I don't know. I'm kind of back and forth. I can do this just fine, but it's, again, it has to be a precise deployment with the thumb to get it to really fly out the way you want it to. A stronger detent would do it a lot of good, and bearings would have been fantastic. But the more I looked at this knife, look at this nice finger choil here. That's pretty much I would consider that. The way you grip it, your finger would go perfectly in there. It would be awesome. So what I wish they would have done, leave the thumb stud on. The thumb stud's fine, but cut this part off right here to where instead of it coming up like this, it's just kind of curving back, maybe following along the circular line of the actual pivot collar. And what that would give you is a front flipper, because I tell you, I can almost I can kind of front flip it like this. That will not happen all the time, but you got to get your finger right in the jimping here and go pretty hard, and it comes out. It comes out relatively easy, but to finish it, you really have to flip it with your wrist and get some good action going. But I think this would have made an awesome little front flipper if they would have just carved out or cut out a little more of this part here, maybe added a little to the blade. Now, I understand that would change the back design here, so it would take a significant redesign, but it would have made this knife so sweet because you already had this little, this choil here. So you pull that back, you still have basically the exact same ergos, and your finger's just a little closer inside the blade, so it just feels like that much more of just forming right into your hand. And then, not to mention, then you would have all sorts of deployment options. You would have thumb, you would have middle finger, you would have middle finger, and you would also have the sweet little front flipping action, which actually, this fits pretty well in your fingers to where a front flipper would have really worked for this. It's just obviously not there yet for it, but it would have been really possible. I think it would have made this knife amazing. The way it is now with this detent in action, it's just, it's okay. I definitely not bad, but it's just okay. Not a keeper for me. This knife is actually already sold, so it'll be going to its new home here very soon. But, you know, it was worth a review. It is a nice knife, and like I said, I really do love the design. I really wish Kizer would go back and look at this. I think if they made those changes, just a little carve back here, and this is in respect to Justin. I realize this is his design, so I don't, respect to that. I'm not knocking him. I think the knife looks great. I think it would just look even better if you just carve that back. Then you have your little inner choil on the grip here that would be just fine. You'd have all different ways of deployment, and it would be a complete little package. Of course, that being with bearings and a better detent too. And really, if you made it a front flipper, you wouldn't even absolutely need the bearings. Washers work fine on front flippers as long as the detent's good. Then bearings aren't super critical. But yeah, just can't. I wish I was better at modding knives. I would consider doing that myself and just adding jimping and modding this guy up. It'd be sweet. But that's kind of my thought on it. I realize it's a little outside of the box take, but I think making this a front flipper and making those slight little modifications would have made this knife a lot better. The way it sits, the action is very mediocre at best, but it is a great design. So just kind of a middle-of-the-road knife for me. Those are my thoughts. What do you guys think? I've seen a lot of people have these, and they really do like them. So it says a lot for the knife, but it's just, I just think it could have been a lot better. What do you guys think? Let me know. That's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed this. Enjoy your weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.